Look behind the curtain of any wildly successful organization, and you're going to find a very strategic orchestration going on. One that keeps a workforce happy, compliant, and, above all, highly productive. Because honestly, regardless of how advanced a company's tech might be or how deep their pockets are, long-term success literally depends on how effectively people work together. So today, welcome to this explainer. We're going to be exploring the complex, behind-the-scenes anatomy of modern employment relations. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to ask yourself a quick question as we get started. Is your job just a legal contract? Like, do you simply trade your time and your labor for a paycheck and then call it a day? For the longest time, especially throughout the Industrial Revolution and well beyond, that was exactly how businesses operated. But the most successful organizations today, they know that looking at work merely as a transactional exchange is just a massive missed opportunity, both for the company and for you as an individual. Traditionally, employment was viewed as a super simple transaction, right? Labor in exchange for wages. You do the work, you get paid, end of story. But the modern view, it flips that completely on its head. It recognizes that employment is actually a long-term partnership, one that's based on mutual trust, respect, communication, fairness, and shared organizational goals. It emphasizes cooperation over confrontation, and it genuinely tries to balance what the organization needs with employee welfare. This fundamental shift in mindset, from a basic transaction to a real partnership, that is the core of everything we're going to unpack today. Section 1. Anatomy of Healthy Relations, the core framework. So to get grounded, let's look at a formal definition. Employment relations is the process of building and maintaining positive, cooperative, and productive relationships between employers and employees. But here is the absolutely critical part you need to take away from this. This relationship isn't just about what happens when you're sitting at your desk. It covers the entirety of the employment lifecycle. It spans every single interaction. We're talking from the moment you are recruited, right through your daily working conditions, your performance reviews and training, all the way to your eventual separation from the company. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is how these 5 objectives, trust, communication, fairness, participation, and compliance, are completely interconnected cogs in a machine. They are the foundation. Think about it. You can't have trust without transparent two-way communication. You can't have true employee participation like suggestion schemes or problem-solving groups if people don't feel they're being treated with fairness and compliance. These aren't just HR buzzwords, you know? They are the essential building blocks that balance organizational goals with employee welfare. When these elements are perfectly aligned, you get higher engagement, better teamwork, and far, far lower turnover. But what actually influences these relationships on a day-to-day basis? Well, it comes down to these ground-level factors. We're talking about supportive, transparent leadership. Because, let's face it, authoritarian managers usually just destroy trust and engagement. We're also talking about open communication, career development, and a strong organizational culture. But pay really close attention to that middle point, fair compensation. Our source material points out a fascinating detail here. Did you know that perceived fairness in compensation often influences employee satisfaction more than the absolute dollar amount received? It's true. If people feel their pay accurately reflects their contributions and is equitable compared to their peers, relationship harmony goes way up. Section 2. Navigating Conflict and Discipline, the Immune System. Because look, let's be real. No matter how healthy an organization is, things will eventually go wrong. Even in the absolute best managed organizations, employees are sometimes going to experience dissatisfaction. Grievance management is the formal system for handling concerns regarding working conditions, compensation, promotions, or even things like discrimination and harassment. Now, it's incredibly easy for management to view this as an administrative chore or just a nuisance, but effective grievance handling isn't a chore. It is a vital opportunity. When an organization promptly and fairly resolves complaints, it doesn't just put out a fire. It actively shields the relationship and significantly strengthens employee trust. So the crucial point is how organizations respond to rule breaking. Notice the stark contrast in approaches here. A punitive approach basically acts like a gavel. It's solely focused on punishing the employee for breaking the rules. It's backward-looking, and honestly, it often just breathes resentment. Corrective discipline, on the other hand, acts like a wrench. It's forward-looking. It's designed to tighten up processes, improve behavior, and realign the employee with organizational standards. Modern workplace discipline is designed to be fair, consistent, transparent, and corrective. It's all about getting a valuable partner back on track, not just handing out a penalty. Section 3. The Digital Workplace Era, Adapting to Change. So how exactly is the digital revolution radically influencing these very human connections? Organizations are rapidly deploying things like HR information systems, self-service portals, and online grievance systems. Add in virtual town halls and AI-powered feedback tools, and suddenly technology is acting as the central nervous system connecting the modern decentralized workforce. These tools literally enable companies to maintain regular interaction, totally transparent communication, and a strong sense of culture, even when their teams are scattered all over the place in remote and hybrid environments. But, of course, this digital era certainly brings its own evolving hurdles. Modern organizations are juggling remote and hybrid work models, a multi-generational workforce with vastly different expectations, cultural diversity, the massive rise of gig and contract employment, and a critical, growing focus on employee mental health. The ultimate challenge here is a super delicate balancing act. Organizations have to maintain heavy performance and productivity on one side, while genuinely prioritizing and supporting employee well-being on the other, all amidst rapid technological change. Section 4. Partners in Organizational Success. The Role of HR. Let's move to our next point and see how this builds into the bigger picture. Who actually orchestrates all of this? Well, it's time to bust the myth that HR is just some administrative body that pushes paper, manages payroll, and hands out offer letters. In this modern framework, HR acts as a facilitator, a counselor, a mediator, and a true strategic partner. They're the ones actually developing the policies, driving employee engagement, organizing training, and actively strengthening the organizational culture to ensure all those core objectives we talked about earlier are successfully met. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire anatomical framework we've been unpacking today. This matrix brilliantly locks it all in. Everything starts with the overarching relationship. From there, you actively involve your people through participation, you protect them with grievance management, you guide them with corrective discipline, and all of these elements combined are what ultimately forge your organizational culture. Seeing it mapped out like this really helps solidify how these pieces work together as a single healthy organism. I want to leave you with a direct quote from our source material that just perfectly captures this entire shift. The most successful organizations recognize that employees are partners in organizational success rather than merely resources to be managed. This is the overarching takeaway of this explainer. Investing in trust, communication, fairness, and well-being, it isn't just a nice thing to do for morale. It is a vital, strategic investment that directly drives higher productivity, better innovation, lower turnover, and sustainable organizational growth. Which brings us to a final, really important thought. As you look at your own workplace dynamics, whether you are an employer, an HR professional, or an employee navigating your own career, ask yourself this. Are you managing resources, or are you building partnerships? Because the answer to that question might just define your organization's future success. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a fresh lens through which to view your daily work life. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.